Hey, how you guys doing today? Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm Connie Fuksa. Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. So today I wanted to talk to you about what happens when you live on a piece of property that shares a roadway or a driveway with someone else. This is something that doesn't happen a lot, but in more rural areas, it becomes more common because the access from the main or county or state maintained road sometimes is shared between one or more neighbors. And so you may have a gravel road or a paved road that is shared between several different people. And my question to you is, does everyone on that road understand their responsibility with that road? And do you understand the responsibility if you're buying a piece of property when you're sharing a road with someone else? Do you even know that the property that you're buying is sharing a road with someone else? This can become something that can be kind of confusing. Maybe you don't really understand it. Maybe you think you understand it, but you're not really sure. And then something like this happens where it can be confusing. So usually when a property, let's say a big piece of property, is divided up into different lots, so several people can build houses on different lots, buy those different lots, sometimes there's a requirement that the county won't let each of those lots have direct access to the main road, that the county maintained road or a state maintained road. And so they have to share a driveway or share a roadway, which isn't really a big deal as long as everybody understands the responsibilities and the requirements and the abilities and their ownership rights. So there's several different pieces and ways about this. The most common is when you have several different pieces of property and they all share a piece of land that goes out to the main road, and then that driveway or that roadway that goes into that piece of property or into all those properties is shared by everyone. And typically when that happens, there is what's called an easement, which is a document that gives rights to people to be able to use an easement or a right-of-way to be able to use that piece of property. So typically, this would be a right-of-way because the people that are the owners on that property would have the right to access or use that property, and anybody they give the rights to would have the access or right to travel on that piece of property. So they all have the rights, and typically when those rights are given, they're given for as long as that property exists in its current state. So unless anything changes about the way those properties and that right-of-way is developed or designed, then it will be forever. So whoever owns that property, that right-of-way runs with the land of that property. Hey there, good morning, Angela. Thanks for tuning in. Hey there, big brother. How are you today? So the right to use that roadway or that piece of property is typically given to every person that owns those lots, and then as they sell it, that right-of-way runs with the ownership. So that would be as long as that property is given. Now, typically, there's also an agreement recorded that talks about who's going to maintain that roadway, because you're talking about one road that services several houses, and you need to make sure that it's taken care of. And typically, if you have properties on there that are older that haven't been transferred, this may not have happened yet. But if you're buying a piece of property that has a roadway that doesn't have what's called a road maintenance agreement, then your mortgage company who's going to loan you the money to buy that house is going to require that a road maintenance agreement is done, because ultimately they want to make sure that if they ever had to take that house back and resell it because they need to recuperate their loan, if you're not paying the payments, they need to make sure that all of the pieces are buttoned up, which includes being able to get to the house and get out, which would include that roadway. So if the roadway became disrepair and you can't actually travel on it, then they have a problem with their mortgage, because if they ever had to take the mortgage or the house back from you to recuperate their loan, they'd have to pay somebody to come take care of it. So they don't want to do that. So the lender is going to be the first one that would require a road maintenance agreement. But you also should make sure when you're buying a piece of property that has one of these common roads that you understand what the right-of-way access is, what your accessibility is, and also who's going to maintain it, what is your responsibility, and what's everybody else's responsibility. Now, when I talk about that right-of-way, it can come in several different forms. One, there can be one piece of property that everybody uses that might even actually be on someone else's property, and this coming with the question that I asked today about someone blocking that road off. So if you have a right to go through someone else's property to get to yours, there needs to be a right-of-way recorded that gives you that forever right to do that. And the person that owns the piece of property that the road's on can't block you off. Now, it's a legal battle. If you get in a fight with your neighbor and they decide to be ugly and do that, then you're probably going to have to go through the legal process. There's another way that they're designed, which is a little bit more helpful for those that are going to be the owners, and they're called flag lots. And typically you talk about having I go over here and you can't really see my hands. So let's say you have a square piece of property, but off of that piece of property is a little tail that is also your property that goes all the way out to the main road. And so let's say you have 4 houses that use that private road, that right of way, that driveway, but all those 4 pieces have a flag, but all of them are not going to build a road on their little flag. So typically the road's built in the middle of those flags and has the right for everyone to use them. Again, there's a right of way. If it's not on your piece of property, the road isn't actually located there, you have a right of way that gives you the right to use that property forever. And you also want to make sure there's a road maintenance agreement that everybody signs so you know who actually maintains that road. Because it can get expensive, especially if it needs gravel, you need somebody to drag it out to fill potholes, things like that. Maybe you don't have that equipment. So you want to make sure whose responsibility it is and who's actually paying for those repairs and maintenance that needs to be done. But make sure before you're buying that the right-of-way is established so no one can block you off. And if they do, then you have some legal leg to stand on. And also make sure that there's the agreement as to who's going to take care of that road, because those are 2 things you want to make sure that you understand your responsibilities and everybody else's that share that road. So hopefully I gave you a little 2 cents today, a little piece of advice. If there's any information that I talk about that you want more information on, or if you have a question yourself, I love it when you guys ask questions. It's so much more fun to answer your questions than it is to go through the list of questions maybe that I have that I've seen. I did own a title company. I owned that for 32 years. So I have lots of experience with people asking me questions about closing. There's lots of questions when it comes to real estate, and I've experienced a lot of it, so I can help you answer those. So if I don't know the answers, and I don't, honestly, I'm telling you that I don't know all the answers, but I know a lot of really good professionals that do if I don't. So definitely reach out and let's talk about it. And then I can share your information with others, because if you have that question, more than likely somebody else does too. So thank you so much for tuning in to Coffee with Connie. If you hit the share button below, you can share this broadcast with all the people that you know. Then if they have questions, then they can also reach out to me, and then they may get some questions answered that they have as well. So hit the share button below, and if you do, you can win this really cool Coffee with Connie mug. 2 more went out the door this week. So I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Stay dry out there if you're on the East Coast, because we're getting this crazy rainstorm. I look forward to talking to you again real soon. I'm Connie Fuksa. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.